Okay. Hi. Hello. My name is Immortal Monarch, also known as Sarah Valentine, and also Julian Valentine. I don't know. I'm still in the process of figuring my name out. That kind of leans a bit into what I wanna talk about today. Um, I had a bit of a thought that I was going to share on Twitter, but I feel like 2 minutes and 20 seconds isn't really going to cut it. So here we are. I used to have a podcast called Depresso Espresso, but Espresso. Sorry, it's been so long, but I stopped doing it for reasons. Um, Maybe I'll get into that at some point, but neither here nor there. But hi, hello. Sorry, my voice sounds weird. I'm kind of going to do something that maybe I'll talk about at some point, but if you know, you know. If you don't, well, it's fine. Anyway, the thing I wanted to talk about is change and evolution and growing and evolving. Um, One of my favorite cartoons from the '90s was and is X-Men. It's the '90s X-Men. No, you know that one. But I love Storm and I love Jean Grey, but my baby, my absolute favorite, he still is my favorite, was Gambit. Um, he was from the Bayou, much like me. He was very suave. He was very chic. He was a good old country boy. Gambit was like one of my Gambit, Cyclops. Listen, oh shit! Now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of the people on the '90s X-Men was a gay awakening for me. Damn. Today I learned something about myself, trying to make a point. But anyway, the reason I like the mutants is because um, they were superhuman in the manner of speaking. There was a meta gene. I think that I'm wrong. It's been a while since I've watched the X Men, and I'm not a big lore buff. I just remember some things, but they had this gene that changed them to give them, superhuman powers or whatever. I'm so sorry. Again, I'm kind of sick, so forgive me. I might try to edit that out. Whatever, if I can remember. Anyway, they had these things that evolved them into grow and change. And even their powers, even though they had their powers, which is from a mutated gene, they still, even times, could mutate and change again. And I'm finding myself, I feel like I'm in a place where I'm kind of going through that again. I'm sorry, let me explain. I'm getting a little bit off track here. I feel like I'm in a place where I am in a transitional period. When I was originally going to put this on Twitter, I followed a lot of VTubers, a lot of streamers, a lot of PNG tubers, a lot of content creators, to put it simply. And I feel like you kind of find yourself when you're creating content that you sometimes can often be in a transitional period. And I think a lot of times you don't realize that you're in that period of change until either it's come and gone or, you're at the end of it. But I feel like there's the rare occasion where you oftentimes can feel like you have, I'm going to say a moment of clarity, but it's more so like just kind of like all of a sudden, kind of like a being aware of everything around you type of thing. And it's like, oh, wait, oh my gosh, like you kind of just, I don't know, you just kind of feel it, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know, I feel very much like I'm in this place of like things are changing and, change is scary. Um, Oftentimes change is for the better. Sometimes change is for the worse. It all just kind of varies depending on the situation and the context, which, use your brains. You can figure out the nuance here, but like, I kind of think the reason why I find it so scary today is simply because I don't know what the change is. I don't know what's coming. I feel like there's as Pocahontas once said, just around the river bend. I feel like there's something, that's I don't want to say that's waiting for me, but I feel like I'm kind of like in one of these like really long tunnels, and maybe I'm going to come out on the other side, and it's like beautiful scenery and bright lights. It's kind of like in shows and movies that kind of post-apocalyptic. If you get that reference, you get 15 points. But it's kind of like in movies and shows and things where people are going to like quote unquote a promised land. Things are supposed to be so much better here or whatever, and they do all these things and they make all of this effort to get to this place, and it just sometimes, yes, it is for the better. It's amazing, and then other times, more often than not, it's not what they expected. It was not as it was portrayed to be, and in fact it was worse than the situation they were in. An example that I can kind of think of that just came to mind was how in Hunger Games, spoilers, Hunger Games has been out forever, but for those who may have not seen the movies, I've read the books. Consider this your spoiler warning. You got 5 seconds before I continue to spoil this. So 5, 4, 3, 2. Anyway, so in Hunger Games, everybody was in their 12 districts, and they were living. They were happy and healthy, and they were brothers, whatever, right? Again, another 15 points if you get that reference. But it was, in a way, a facade in the sense of like there was this elusive, alluded to 13th district. Take 2. There was this fabled 13th district that was like so much better, and so they were separate from the 12, and they were they were independent and whatever, and so people would fight to get there and leave the shitty situations they were in. And come to find out, like, let's just be real, nobody had it good. Like, sure, yeah, the capital to an extent was better off than those in the district, but they were just as fucked up as anybody else. And I'd even venture to say, sorry, this isn't a Hunger Games podcast. The point I'm getting at is that Katniss and them broke out and they got to the 13th district and they were like, oh, this is just as shitty, if not more shitty. And I can't remember the woman's name, but again, I'm so sorry. That is my apologies. I can't remember the woman's name, but she was like, you have to kill President Snow and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, actually, bitch, you're worse than what we had going. And the fact that you wanted to kill him and then put like people in the Capitol into the Hunger Games, like, girl, hold on, do I have a cough? No? Okay. Yep, hold on. Yep, hold on. Okay, we're back. Sorry. I had a cough and that would have definitely blown out your eardrum. I'm sorry. I couldn't do that to you. Anyway, but you wanted to put these people in the same boat as you, girl. It's like, that's not the case. It's literally as one of my favorite shows from the 90s, there was this show called As Sold by Ginger, and the lovely Macy Graves did the theme song, and it started off with like, someone once told me the grass was much greener on the other side. And she's like, well, I took a visit and I must have missed it because I can't remember the lyrics. The whole point of what I'm getting at is that oftentimes change, I guess, I mean, obviously there's kind of like a given. Change can be in 3 different categories, right? You can have change that is for the better. You can have change for the worse. Or you can just have change that moves the needle, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference in regards to the outcome. There's sometimes that, like, to use one of my games, and it's not a podcast if I don't have an Overwatch reference, but Overwatch 2 is basically Overwatch 1 with new heroes and one less tank. Like, they gave us this new game, but it's not like revolutionarily different from the original game. They made it seem like, oh, this is Overwatch 2. It's brand new and there's so many different things that are changing and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, excuse me, girl, this is the same fucking game as the old one. It's just you took out one less tank. You took out one tank down, and that's it. We have some new characters, cool. Pretty lighting, I guess. Gowns, beautiful gowns. But anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling and try and circle back to my whole point to begin with. Is I just very much feel like I'm in this place of where I'm in a transitional period. And I think that as humans, or however you self-identify, we're constantly changing and we're growing, evolving. At least I hope, and that's not to say that if you aren't constantly changing in the sense of like every day something new or different comes along that you're not doing it right and you're just, you're failing at life. But what I mean is I'm not the same person I was a year ago. Hell, I'm not the same person I was 6 months ago. But that doesn't mean at my core I'm drastically different. It just means that I've left things behind that picked new things up and I've changed. And so I feel like one is constantly in a place of transition, even if things are good or, ideal. I feel like that's just how life is. It's constantly moving, and as such, you have to move with it or you in a way get left behind. Like, I hope that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. Anyway, the whole reason I was talking about this is just, it's so weird to have this overwhelming feeling that, things are changing or that things are in flux or that there's something, I don't want to say looming overhead, but, it just feels like there's, I don't want to say sharks in the water either, because again, that doesn't feel like a good example, but I don't know. I just feel like there's something on the horizon, and I'm hoping for good things. Or maybe it could just be some weird mood I'm in, and nothing's even coming, and there's no real change that's gonna happen. It's just the mood I'm in for whatever fucking reason. Anyway, I don't know if this made sense at all, but I don't know. I think it's been a while since I've gotten some wanted to get words off my chest, so maybe that's the new transitional period thing I could think of. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Neither here nor there, really. I guess if I had to end cap this, don't be afraid of change. In most cases, embrace it if it's good change. If it's bad, then figure out how to circumvent that change. Evolve into who you want to be the person you want to be. Anyway, I'm sort of rambling. I can feel a cough trying to force its way out of my throat. But yes, if you listen to this, and if you listen this far, then you get 5 gold stars and 10 points. I'm not keeping score. That's up to you to do that. But yeah, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you. Oh, okay. Yeah, hold on. Sorry about that. But yeah, I just want to let you know that I appreciate you and that you're wonderful and that you're amazing. And that if no one else told you today that they love you and that they're proud of you, then I love you and I'm proud of you. I was about to say this has been the Press Espresso and this has been Fresh Air or these other podcast names. Oh, that was one thing I was thinking of that I forgot to mention. So we're not going to wrap up just yet. We're going to wrap up in a second once I mention this. But speaking of like transition and changing, I remember when I remember having a Twitter from like 2006, I think. Yeah, it was my, as people say nowadays, it was my gubby, you know. Um, and then I started getting into gaming and Twitch and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I want to have a Twitter that's separate from my gaming one. I want to have a gaming Twitter that was separate from my quote unquote main one. Simply because I didn't want to bombard people with my gaming shit that they probably wouldn't care about or want to see. And so at the time, that account's name was Prince Stuffed. It was spelled Stuft, and people called it Prince Stuffed, but it was Stuffed. Whatever. Um, it was cute for a while, and everything was great. But then at a certain point, I was just like, I kind of want to change. I need some change. I need to, hold on. Yes, I feel like my body's telling me to wrap this shit up. But I was like, I need to change from Prince Steve to something different. I was like, well, my thought process was like, I don't want to go down in title, Imagine going from a prince to something else, right? So I was like, you know what? Well, the only next up is king. So I came up with king. And I was like, well, I needed a word that I feel like, that defines me and things I like or how I feel. And so I came up with, I always like the word Lux, just some of the meaning of it. And this is before I knew anything about League of Legends or that she was a character. And people would always ask me, well, do you play Lux? Do you play League of Legends? I'm like, what the fuck are you on about? And then I played League of Legends, like, I get it now because it's a character named Lux. Aha! It's not spelled the same, but sure, whatever. Correlations, I guess. Anyway, so then I became King Lux, and I was like, that was my brand. I have a shit ton of videos out with the name King Lux. You can see a whole bunch of old videos with my servants never die for a price and the King Lux logo and this, that, and the third. But then I ended up being introduced. So I had that for like the longest. But I want to say some months back, like maybe 5 or 6 months back. Has it really been that long? Oh my gosh, about 6 or 7 months back, whatever. I don't fully remember. I decided that I was, I kind of got introduced to VTubers and VTubing and the virtual tubing space. I don't even know if that's what the virtual, I don't even know if that's what the V stands for, but I would assume. But I got introduced to them, and I was like, I kind of want to make, I don't want to say, let's say make a persona, but I want to, just have something that kind of separates the two for some reason. And so I was like, well, I want to come up with something. I was like, well, what's after a king? Like, and what do I want to embody with this? You know what I mean? And I don't remember how I stumbled upon Monarch, but I just was like, I was like, Monarch could be good. I don't fully remember the exact thought process, but I was like, Immortal Monarch. Yeah, I've been doing this forever. I'm no longer a prince. I'm no longer a king. I've transcended the titles. I'm the forever royalty type of situation, right? Needless to say, I want to say maybe like a week or so after I came up with this name and all this jazz, and was like really leaning into and following people and engrossing myself in the VTuber community. Following people like Fox, Akuma, and Kenji, and I could list several other people who I follow. Because I was like, oh my gosh, you're so interesting. I find your content delicious. I'm fucking hating myself, but I was engrossing myself into it, and then I come to find out there's this person who is vastly popular, who also has the name Monarch, which I have mixed feelings about it. Not because of the fact that their name is Monarch, but the fact that like sometimes they go into people's stream and they're like, "Oh my God, is that Monarch?" And I'm like, "No, I'm sorry to disappoint. And I hate to burst your bubble, girl, but no, I'm not. I can't pronounce her name. I think it's Leanne Lee or something like that. But forgive me. Y'all know if you know who Monarch is, that's not me that you know who I'm talking about. But um, so yeah, I was like really engrossing myself in the VTuber community and engrossing myself in making friends and things, and I even had a separate Twitter and whatnot. And I was just kind of like, I was talking to a friend one day, and I was like, I have all these people over here on this Twitter and this Twitch account who I've come to know and love and really resonate with. But then I was like, but I have my other account and I don't want to leave all of that behind, if I fully lean into this Monarch thing. And I was like, should I just change my name on my other account? Should I, just make it King Lux? I mean, there we go. Should I just make it a more Monarch? Because it's like, he was like, well, is there a reason you want to keep the two separate? I was like, no, not particular. It's like I don't really particular. I don't think there's any clash or any real like bad overlap if I change my name or whatever. And he's like, well, then go for it. So I was like, I bet, and I did. And that's how Immortal Monarch is here. And, I really feel like this is a good. I really felt like the transitions I made from Prince to King to Monarch were just very indicative of myself in the way I was feeling at the time and the places that I am in my life. I feel like a lot of times milestones can be indicated by the way we do and we carry certain things. Like when I was really leaning into the King Lux thing, I was very much into like Overwatch content, which is great, but I never wanted to be like King Lux OW or whatever OW because I was just like, that's not all that I am. I'm not just an Overwatch gamer. Like, is that the majority of the content I put out? Yes, because it's easy. I can record it, and plus that was a lot of what I was playing at the time. But I could also just take clips from my play of the games and upload it. It was very simple. But I played a whole lot of other things, and I was like, I don't want to be the person who has OW in their name because I consider myself more than that. And so I feel like even when that was like the content I had, I was still defining myself from what I was in. And so when Monarch came around, I didn't want it to be tied to anything in particular but myself. I have my YouTube channel, yes, and I make videos, yes, and whatnot, but a lot of them are still Overwatch, some of them League. But while that is technically the content I put out, I don't want that to be the only thing that defines me. And so I think with change and transition also comes defining who you are and what you want and who you want to be. And a lot of times that change and transition go hand in hand, when I went from a prince to a king, I was changing and I was transitioning, and I felt like I was putting myself on a different level of, from where I was. Prince Steve was very much from like when I played RuneScape and I was like in middle school, high school. No, I think it was like in a bit of middle school, a bit of high school, and even into some later years of my life. But I became King Lux, and that was a different change and a different transition. And, now I'm Monarch, which again is a different change and a different transition. And while I don't think that the name Monarch itself is going to change, I definitely can understand if like who knows what is in store for me in regards to this journey that I'm on. That's the one thing that I guess in a way I appreciate about life, but also hate about life is that there's just a lot of unknowns and a lot of a lot of unforeseen things that you just can't prepare yourself for, and you just have to accept them as they come. Again, that falls into the whole change, good or bad or whatever, but it's I can't remember exactly where I heard it or how I've said it before, but your past mistakes in your past isn't something that necessarily has to define you. It's what you take from that and how you grow and what you do with it and what actually defines you. You know, your mistakes, your fuck ups, your triumphs, and all these other things, good or bad. And what you do with those things is what ultimately becomes the culmination of the person you are, you know? And so it's like growing and changing and transitioning, which it's so funny how words used to mean different things and how words have so many connotations nowadays. But I mean, it could be literally physically transitioning, you know? But for me, it's not really on that scale. But I guess my whole point, and like again, you know, to wrap this up, taking what you can from where you've been and implementing it into your now, I feel is the key to having a successful transition, a successful change into being better. You know, that's not to say that you won't have mistakes and setbacks and failures, but it's what you do with those things while you're changing or transitioning that will ultimately define you. And I kind of feel like I'm in that place right now where something's changing. I don't know what. Must be the season of the witch. I'm just kidding. Like it's so funny that it's like, you know, it's now fall, quote unquote. You know, it's still like 90 degrees outside, but you know, everybody's in their pumpkin spice latte era and their big scarves and all that kind of shit. Maybe I just feel the change of the season and it's affecting me more than it used to. Maybe Venus is in the microwave and Mercury's in the dishwasher or some shit. I'm not big of an astrology girly, but you get the point of what I'm saying. Anyway, this has gone on longer than I meant for it to. And I can't believe I wanted to try and condense this into 2 minutes and 20 seconds on Twitter. Clearly that shit wasn't gonna fucking happen. Anyway, if you've listened this long, again, I'm like super fucking proud of you. You get 10 gold stars and 50 fucking points. Again, I'm not keeping score of the points. You keep the score and you let me know where you grade. But yes, thank you so much for listening. And if no one else has told you, I'm very, very proud of you. You made it to see another day. And bitch, let's celebrate that, okay? Happy transitioning, happy changes, happy becoming who you want to be in the world. Be that person you want to be, okay? I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah.